What is up everyone? Welcome to part 1 of my home network setup. Now I estimate that this video series is going to span across quite a few months and maybe quite a few parts. Some parts may be bigger than others. This first one is literally going to be getting the very bare essential parts of my internet connection up and running. There's not going to be a lot to it, but things are going to start getting really exciting over the next couple of months. Now, I haven't managed to secure enough funds to be able to buy all of my networking gear at once. So my plan was to have this huge mountain of networking gear all sitting here ready to set up right at the beginning, and we'd do the whole lot in like 2 days. But unfortunately, I can't do that just for financial reasons, which is to be expected. I mean, you know, we got the house and we had to buy a car and everything, blah, blah. This really boring stuff. So this is all going to be split up into multiple parts as I get money to get the things. But everything you see here, plus a couple of things that are still in the post, will be going towards the basics of my home network that I'm going to be using for the next few weeks until I can secure some more funds. Starting at the top and working our way down, the first thing I have, and probably the least exciting thing, is the router from my ISP. Now I've had countless questions where people are asking me what ISP I went with, and I've chosen to ignore those questions so that I could address it in a video so that I could explain it at the same time. So I'm going to reveal my ISP in 3, 2, 1, go. I wasn't expecting that to be there, but yeah, you can see I went with PlusNet. Now, I know that there are loads of people right now that are going to go straight down into the comment section and go, "Oh, Tom, why the heck did you go with PlusNet? PlusNet are rubbish. I told you not to go with them, blah, blah, blah." Please, guys, save your PlusNet comments. If I hate this internet connection, then you can say I told you so. But right now, balancing everything up, bearing in mind that I've been looking at getting an internet connection for months and months and months, I've been researching it for a very long time, PlusNet came out on top with nearly every point, including price, reviews, just anything that you can look up online. PlusNet came out on top, and without using the connection, I did as much research as I could. So say what you will, but this video is not about what ISP I chose. This video is about networking in general. So let's talk about the internet and the router very briefly. The best internet connection you can get in my area is a VDSL line. That's fiber to the cabinet. And the absolute quickest speed you can get from that service is the premium quality fiber broadband extra, which is an 80/20 connection. I believe it's 76 meg down and 19.5 meg up. After they tested my line, they gave me an estimate within an email saying that they estimate I'll get 66 meg, which is awesome. But anything above 50 and I'll be happy. Bearing in mind that I am accustomed to a 2 meg connection. That's the only broadband I've ever had. So anything is going to be a colossal upgrade. So we'll talk about my ISP in the next part of the video and how I'm finding them so far. Because the reason I'm starting the networking video now on this Monday is because tomorrow on Tuesday, my internet is due to become active, which is really, really exciting. So they sent me the PlusNet Hub 1, which eliminates the need for a separate VDSL modem. This has everything that you need to get your VDSL broadband hooked up in one single box. This is basically a reskinned version of the latest BT Home Hub with slightly tweaked software, I believe. So this is a form factor of router that personally I absolutely hate. I think it's ugly, I think it's disgusting, and I think it feels cheap. The BT skin isn't much better, but at least it's black. But yeah, it is what it is. This is ISP hardware, and this is what I'll be using for now. So hopefully that works out okay. There is more to come on the router in the next few parts, so yeah, stick around to hear about that. Next up, we have the TP-Link 24-port gigabit desktop rack mount switch, which I have had hanging around for a very long time since it was donated to me last year. I'm always extremely grateful for all the donations, by the way, guys. You know who you all are. If you see things around the new house that you've donated, then you know how grateful I am. So yeah, this is the switch that is going to basically be the central junction of the entire network. Everything is going to come in and out of this switch. It's rack mount, which is great because eventually I will have a rack. And the reason I'm recording this in my office is because said rack will be going there. So yeah, that's the switch which we're going to utilize in this video. Next up, we have my solution to wiring my house for a wired network, at least my temporary solution. And when I say temporary, I mean over the next year or two. Now, I was originally going to wire my house for Ethernet straight away, but this is my office. This is where we're standing. That's where I want the server rack, and this is an exterior wall. This is literally the outside wall of my house. We are currently standing in an extension. So up there is a flat roof. If I drill through that corner, there is no attic up there. So drilling through and feeding cables into the attic is a much, much bigger task than I had originally anticipated. And considering the amount of network ports that I really need, I was going to put a couple in each room because, you know, just because you can sort of thing. But considering where I need a wired network, I really don't need to go to the effort, time, and more importantly, the expense and the inconvenience of getting a hardwired network set up. So instead, what I decided to do, rather than get really complicated with construction, I decided to go for the best Powerline adapters that I could afford. For around 60 quid, you will get the TP-Link 3-port gigabit up to 1200 megabit a second Powerline adapters. You get two here for around 60 quid. These are really cool because they should perform extremely well. And this is basically going to be to connect the server rack to any other wired connections in the house. I may buy more of these in the future, that's probably a certainty, but at the moment the other one, the second one, will be going down in the living room. Now down in the living room, that's where things get exciting because that's where I'll be making my first real connections in terms of actually connecting up all of my devices. It's going to be a long process, as I explained, but the living room is what I'm getting sorted first. So the reason I'm having a Powerline adapter in the living room is because that's where I'm going to have my Wi-Fi router. This has Wi-Fi, but I will not be using it. I'm nearly 100% certain of that. This is actually meant to be a fairly good Wi-Fi router, but it's going to, again, be in here behind this external wall, so the signal is going to be rubbish, and I want really good signal. So I'm going to be buying another Wi-Fi router. That's to come in the next wave of stuff. That'll be going down in the living room connected to these. Also, all of the games consoles down there and the Apple TV, I want them to be hardwired internet so that the Wi-Fi network is reserved for just phones, tablets and laptops. All the consoles will be on the wired network connected to the switch through the Powerline adapters. Now, because I'm using another router downstairs as a wireless access point, and I'm planning on getting an Apple AirPort Extreme refurbished because they're meant to be so good and it'll fit in really well with the Apple ecosystem in the house. That gives me extra Ethernet ports as well as these extra ports here, so that reduces the need for an extra switch downstairs to connect all the consoles. So we're talking Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii U, Apple TV, connecting the wireless access point itself, and of course a future edition, which may be, I don't know, cough cough, Nintendo NX, something like that. But anyway, that brings me nicely on to talking about the cables. Actually, I've decided to go for, to begin with, 5 brand new Cat 6 3-meter black decent quality Ethernet cables. So let's get a little bit of this set up. Ooh, one more thing I will explain. The things I'm waiting for in the post are actually quite interesting additions. Now, at the moment, I have a very, very old school master socket, which only has the phone jack on it, and that is connected to a terribly thin and low quality phone cable, which is then being fed underneath the flooring in the hallway because the socket's in the living room, and fed into a block terminal connector that looks about 30 years old that is then connecting to the outside phone line. I'm going to chop all of that off, and on order I have an OpenReach Mark III VDSL faceplate, as well as the back box for the master socket and a new master socket, an OpenReach master socket. I'm going to fit that myself. Regardless of, you know, what people say, I'm not going to pay for someone to come out and fit that for me. I'm going to fit that myself, And then on order, I have a wonderfully long 25 meter Cat6 cable with an RJ45 at one end and an RJ11 at the other. That cable is going to go from the RJ45/RJ11 jack on the OpenReach faceplate, because yes, they are backwards compatible with those two jacks. A lot of people think they're just RJ11, but they actually function with RJ45 as well, which is nice because it's a wider connector and it's less prone to go wonky, thus shorting out the connection or having an unreliable connection or whatever. So I'm going to be running that cable tomorrow, if it arrives, all the way up the stairs and into this office, where it'll terminate in the RJ11 that'll go into the back of this PlusNet router. Now you guys may be thinking, hang on a minute Tom, you own a professional grade Cisco router that you were going to use. Yes I do, but right now I do not have the time, patience, or basically any of the knowledge to set that up for my home network. So I'll be using the included PlusNet router for now as my modem and router, and I will look into using the Cisco router in the future. So first up, to be slaughtered by a terrible camera angle, is the TP-Link Powerline adapter set. As long as these, wow, they're a bit bigger than I was expecting. As long as these work great, I'll be happy. So here they are, guys. Fairly large. If you want to take a look, this is an iPhone 6 in comparison. They are about the size of an iPhone 6. There's another. And then in here, we have, oh wow, they give you 2 Ethernet cables, which is awesome. So I could use those somewhere. And they also give you software and instructions and various bits and bobs. There we have them, heavy quality devices. So put those to one side and let's dig into the TP-Link 24-port switch. There it is. Here's the rack mount. It's going to keep these safe in the box because I won't be rack mounting yet. Here is the switch. Now this requires a counter lead, which I may have a spare one. We don't have absolutely everything that we're going to need right away, folks, but there we go. There is that. So I'm basically going to hook everything up now in the corner, just how we're going to need it ready to get at least internet to most places in the house. So because I don't have my rack yet, I'm just basically going to have a pile of all of this stuff in the corner for quite a little while, I suppose. So let's start with the basics. This is the birth of my home network right here, in pretty much its simplest form. But things are going to get much more complex really soon. So one thing that I'm going to do, guys, is because we can't go much further today, at least I've been able to start this video. We can't go much further today because I don't have a power cable for the switch and I don't have an extension lead. I'll be bringing that down soon. It's a rack mount 6-way that I'll use to power this for now, because that'll eventually be going into the rack cabinet as well. So that'll get the router plugged into it. We'll plug that into there. But what I'm going to do is turn on the Powerline adapter temporarily, like that. And I'm going to plug the other one in downstairs and see if they both connect. They are paired. The other one is plugged in downstairs where it's going to live. And I'm really glad that they've paired up because it's completely over the other side of the house. And I wasn't sure about the wiring and stuff because of the extension and whatnot. So it's the next day and I managed to get one of my deliveries that I was expecting. I didn't get both of them. The other one will arrive tomorrow morning. So the delivery that I got is the more important one, because at least I can get started with it. It is my new master socket. So here we have a standard back box to go on the wall. Obviously, I'll surface mount it. Next up, we have the master socket itself, standard BT OpenReach master socket. Next up is probably the most important part of the entire process and the reason that I'm changing the master socket, and that is because of the VDSL/ADSL faceplate. So you get your dedicated RJ45/RJ11 jack at the top, and of course you get your sort of phone section pass through, and you've got all your filtering in there, so no need for dangly micro filters, which is great. All of the filtering is done inside the socket now, so anywhere where you have phone extensions in the house or whatever, you don't need micro filters. You don't need them anywhere basically, which is great. And then of course the last piece of the puzzle is just the phone section of the of the socket, which has one of these doohickeys in it. This is a ring wire, what do they call this, isolator or whatever. I can't remember what's actually in this little bit, but it's that thing that stops the ring wire acting as an antenna for interference for the rest of the phone system. So that's really good. That is my master socket. As you guys can see, when it's together, it looks like a standard BT OpenReach Mark III VDSL faceplate and socket, which is great. And just for anyone that was not believing me, because I know that ISPs provide our RJ11 cables, this is an Ethernet cable, a Cat6 Ethernet cable that I showed you yesterday. And here it goes, RJ45 connector, straight into the socket. It's backwards compatible with both connectors, so that's why I'm using a proper big Ethernet cable instead of a little finicky phone cable. Look at the difference. Little finicky phone cable with a tiny connector, very, very low quality, versus something like this. So here we have it. This is 10 times more convenient, and it'll probably be one heck of a lot quicker than the original way it was set up. If anyone cares, you can see this little BT little cover here. It's basically this junction box here, which is just a sort of block terminal connector. This pathetic excuse for a cable is going underneath the floorboards, and it comes up the other side here and goes into the wall and out the other side and into the ancient socket. So yeah, this cabling is now completely disregarded. The reason why I've left that there is because I can always use that original socket as a phone socket next door, because obviously this is by the front door in the hallway. It wouldn't be convenient to have a phone here in this day and age. Using this cable in the bottom there as an extension would be really good. So that's how it looks. There it is, my new VDSL master socket, all ready to rock and roll on the wall there. Now that my new master socket is attached, I feel like we are nearly there for the initial setup. So what I've done is, a moment ago, I carried this UPS into my office for a few different reasons. Now, when I bought this UPS, it's very difficult to take online dimensions of what you read about a product and translate it into how it's going to be in real life. I know that sounds stupid because you can get a measuring tape and that, but I'm sure you guys know what I mean. And the bottom line of this UPS is it's absolutely huge. And also, this is, for those of you who don't know, it's an APC Smart UPS 2200, which can output, I believe, sustained 1850 watts, was it? I can't remember the exact specs. Anyway, it can output a sustained, quite a hefty load. One thing about it is it's way overkill for what I want, but I bought it because it was a fantastic deal. It's APC, so it's one of the top brands of UPS that I can get my hands on. And also, the price that I paid for this used online was the same kind of price as a cheapo brand new unit that is made by a company that you've never heard of, and looks terrible and lacks features and all that sort of thing. So I bought this thinking that it would be really great, and it will be great. It'll serve its purpose. It's a really, really nice system, but there's one downfall, and that is it is massive. It is a lump of a system. As you guys can see, it's just huge, and it's actually deeper than the entire desk, and because you need to leave space for the cables at the back, it becomes deeper again. Now, the rack that I'm looking at, it's deeper than the rack as well, but that's not going to be a problem because I'm going to leave it hanging out the back of the rack. You'll never see it anyway. It'll look tidy at the front, but it'll hang out the back. And if that setup ends up being really inconvenient and it stops flexibility with my rack because of the size of this and things like that, I'll probably sell it and get a smaller rack mount UPS. In work, we use the APC Smart UPS 650s, and they're brilliant because they're little. It's the same front as this, nearly identical, but they go back about that far. So it's one heck of a difference, and it's also a difference in weight. I basically plugged the UPS into the front of the Powerline adapter, because this one socket is what's going to be feeding the network. So on the other end of that plug we have this nice horizontal IEC connector, a little 15 amp IEC connector. So that's the chunky monkey that goes into there. And then we have, of course, our 8 IEC standard 10 amp outputs, as well as a pass-through, but we won't be using that. So they're the 8 outputs that are protected by the UPS. So what we're going to do now is push this thing back before I put any batteries in it. Wow, man, even without batteries it weighs a ton. So push it back, push it back, push it back. There we go. That's about as much as it sticks out. And if I step back so you guys can see, it's certainly not horrendous. It's not that bad. If I open the door, you'll get an idea of distance between the door. It's very feasible. But when you add the rack into the equation, it could get quite a lot more bulky. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. So here's the UPS. If I rip off the faceplate, that's where the batteries go. And over here, I've got 2 battery sleds for it. I'll store one somewhere else in the house. This one is the full. No, that's the one that's half full. I've got 6 cells in total, but 2 carriers. They can hold 4 each. So, oh my gosh. That is the lump that I'm going to be sliding into the system today. So the basic way that it works is you slide the battery module in like this. And it should, yeah, that's pushed in now. So that's in, and then you have these 3 screws, they attach in the 3 corners, and then you plug in this cable. As soon as I plugged in the battery, the UPS pinged into life and it's now charging, which is awesome. So today is the 27th, and we've got some good news and we've got some bad news. The good news is, this morning, my cable arrived, and it is a wonderful cable. Here we have it. 25 meters of lovely quality Cat 6, RJ45 on one end, RJ11 on the other, and they even give you clips so that I can run that up the stairs. So yeah, that's great. I'm really pleased with this guy's service. I think he's a good guy from what I've seen of his YouTube videos and stuff, and I like the stuff that he has for sale in his eBay shop. I think it's cool that he provides this stuff so that we don't have to pay extortionate prices for the phone companies to do it. Not in regards to these kind of cables, but in regards to his sockets and stuff. But anyway, I've been on the phone to PlusNet this morning, and I've had quite an interesting experience. Firstly, the good news is I've managed to completely get free broadband for a month, which is cool. I was trying to push for a little bit more, but it wasn't happening. I think they were just going to tell me to sod off if I carried on, because I was literally sort of getting to the point where I was begging for free things. So they're going to give me a free month, which is great. And, you know, fibre extra isn't cheap broadband. 80/20 is not cheap. So that's a little bit of a saving there. It pretty much covers the cost. Well, it doesn't cover the cost of the lead, but, you know, it contributes to the cost of the lead then. And yeah. So you can pretty much tell that my broadband was not connected yesterday. There was a mixture of problems that I wasn't informed about. The reason that I pushed to get free, something free or some complimentary something, is because I wasn't informed of any of the things that were going on. I was sent my router and everything was going forward, and I thought everything was normal. But unfortunately, because of the previous owner of the house, they failed to disconnect their line, they failed to disconnect their service, so apparently my orders got cancelled because of their service, which I assume they're still paying for, which is odd. So yeah, I've had a bit of an interesting experience. I've spoken to them twice on the phone and also once on the online chat, but the thing is I'm not going to have broadband for at least another 2 weeks. I've got to wait for a brand new line to be installed. That's the other thing that I got for free, by the way. I've got a free brand new line coming into the house. That normally costs, I don't know, quite a large sum of money, I think, which is great. So they're doing that for me, and that will completely disregard the existing line that is here, which is fantastic. So one of the guys that I spoke to, well, I spoke to only one guy on the phone. I spoke to the same guy twice because he phoned me back. He was nice for about 80% of the time, but when I first started asking for free stuff, in the middle there, the first sort of, the first little section where I was starting to go, you know, this isn't on, he started to get a bit like, oh, I don't understand what you want me to do. What do you want me to do about it? This is as long as it takes kind of attitude. And I said it again very calmly, very politely, and he went one moment and then he went off. There was a bit of music. He'd obviously spoken to his supervisor or manager or whatever. Then he came back on offering me all this free stuff. So yeah, rightly so there. Well, look what just arrived. I just recorded an unboxing video for this, but I'm not sure if I'll be uploading it. It was really, really rubbish, but I may upload it. I'm not too sure. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, AirPod Extreme is in the house, so I'm pleased with that. As you can see, there's the box for it, just sitting there looking really cool. This is such a funky looking device, guys. Again, this will be used as my wireless access point. So on the back, power, WAN, USB, 3 LAN ports. So I've got this and the power cable and the Ethernet cable. I'm going to go and hook it up downstairs because why the heck not? Regardless of the fact that we won't have internet for the longest time, I may as well set this up and set my password and everything because yeah, I just might as well. It'll be good fun. So I'm actually using Jess's MacBook because it's got an Ethernet port, which makes setting up really easy. So I've powered it up, and as you guys can see, it's blinking orange there, so it's not configured or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is set this up, and I think what I'll try and do is get the bin out and see if I can film my screen. So sorry about the terrible angles, everyone, but it is what it is. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to launch Airport Utility, which is a utility that I've never had to use before, but soon I'll be using it maybe every now and again because I'll have an AirPod Extreme and my household will continue to grow into more of an Apple ecosystem. I've chosen to go down that route, but my main server will be a free NAS box, but I'm sticking with a Mac Mini as well for lots of server duties. But that's to come later on in the series. Firstly, we're just getting basic network stuff hooked up. So as you guys can see, it's seen the AirPod Extreme straight away, and this is where we get to choose everything. So as network name, etc. Yeah, I need to think of a name for the network. So for now, I've just decided to call my network Starship. I have no idea why. Basically, as you guys, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that when I struggle to name something like a hard drive or whatever, I always pick out like a name of a planet, or I pick out something sci-fi related. Like my Mac Mini server is called Neptune, and I've got a drive connected to it called Venus, and yeah, Starship. My editing drive is called Hyperspace. So just all sorts of little things like that, which I think is cool. But I'll discuss with Jess what she wants our Wi-Fi network name to be. In terms of a password, I'm going to think of something that we'll both remember and also something that is convenient to give out to people. So I've thought of a password. Off we go. So what does this say? This AirPod Extreme will create a network, broadband device or LAN. Great. AirPod Extreme Ethernet WAN port. Okay, so the AirPod Extreme cannot access the internet. Plug one end of the Ethernet cable into your broadband device or LAN and the other end into the WAN port of this base station. You may also continue without an internet connection. So yeah, we'll be continuing without the internet connection, of course. So I don't want to send diagnostics. As much as I like helping people, I'm always a bit weird with that sort of thing. Setting up this AirPod Extreme to create a network. Now, of course, once this setup wizard is complete, we're going to be changing a lot of the settings because we want to just use it as an access point. There we go, setup complete, done. So we have our AirPod Extreme, which is great. So it's got Ethernet unplugged, internet connection, no DNS servers. Okay, so that's okay. We're going to go into this now, and how do you edit it then? Do you press? Ah, here it is. Okay, so now here's all the internet options if I wanted to use it as my actual router, which you never know in the future. Here's all my wireless stuff, which is good. Always good. Network. Now then, router mode. Okay, so we're going to have our router mode in off, which is bridge mode, which will allow it just to be a Wi-Fi access point. This device and its network services will be temporarily unavailable. You sure you want to continue? Yes. There we go. Tom's Airport Extreme updating. So now what I've done is I've unplugged the Ethernet cable that I was using to set up my airport, and I have plugged the router, my router, straight into the airport, into one of the LAN ports. So what I'm going to do as a little test is I'm going to connect to the airport, and then because I want to change some settings on my router, such as disabling the Wi-Fi, etc., which is pretty much the only thing I'm going to do for now. I'm not going to fiddle any further until I get my internet connection up and running. I'm going to leave the rest as default. But I'm going to connect to airport and manage my router through the Airport Extreme, just as a little test of the Airport Extreme to see if it's working. So we've seen the network, which is called Starship. Type in my password. When it prompts me, which it may not if I set it up on this computer. Not 100% sure though. Ah no, it didn't. Ah, there we go. It sees my router straight away. It just pings up because obviously I've got no internet connection, which is fine. So it's allowing me to manage my router fine. So of course the airport is working. We pretty much know that. So the only thing I'm going to do now, as I said, is log into my router and disable the Wi-Fi. And maybe change the password because I can't remember the damn password for this router. But let's enter it because I took a picture of it. Continue to advanced settings. So we're going to go over to wireless and wireless network enable no. That is really easy. After changing this configuration setting, you'll switch off the 2.4 GHz wireless band and the wireless light on your hub. Wireless, yeah. Well, doesn't it turn off the 5 GHz as well then? Apply. Let's have a look. After it's applied, if the Wi-Fi will go off. What does this say? Well, no, it's not enabled. In order to make any changes to the... Why is it just that one then? Let's have a look. That's my router, yeah? So, look, 5 GHz wireless. Ah, cool, there's different options. So we'll turn off the 5 GHz wireless. We don't want that. No. Apply. Oh, it's quite good that they let you change the separate wireless settings, which is good. WPS. Wireless push connection. Off. Apply. Yes. So I'll have to manage all of this through Ethernet now. So my PlusNet should be gone from the list eventually. There we go. Maybe mine's gone. I'm not sure if this is mine or not. Doesn't matter anyway. I've switched off the wireless. So next up, here we go. Change the admin password. So I'm going to enter a new password because I can't remember the mumble jumble of letters and numbers for this router. So here we have Starship, and as you can see, it's connecting to my router because it's telling me there's no internet, which is great because obviously this is wireless. No Ethernet cable plugged in here. And yeah, I'm basically sending the Ethernet through the Powerline adapter at the moment, and I have my Airport Extreme connected up downstairs. I'll show you the Airport Extreme downstairs later on. I'm not going to show you now because Eli's asleep down there and Jess is playing Minecraft. But yeah, I can show you that. It looks really cool down there. I've also connected the Xbox up to the Powerline adapter, so I must remember to order a Wii U USB to Ethernet adapter. So I thought I'd get on with this, guys, because the sooner I start, the sooner I can tick these things off my list. So I've got a nice big long bit here and some spare that I'm going to keep behind the skirting, just for the just in case scenario, just in case the socket has to be moved in the future or anything like that. It saves untacking the whole cable again. So I've left a meter or two of spare. So I'm going to slot in the first section of skirting, screw it all in, cover it all up, then run the cable along, do the second set, and then tack it up the stairs. So it tucks in really nicely all along, which is great, and it'll get covered by the skirting, so that was much easier than I expected. Extremely clean, in my opinion, guys, extremely clean. Cable going in there, coming along, and there's that bundle under there, like I told you guys about, coming along, and I've just begun tacking it up the stairs, as you guys can see. So all the way up I go, I guess. It's actually, it looks better than no cable being there, because it provides a clean line between the wallpaper and the wood instead of like a crackly, speckly type line with all the paint and random broken wallpaper and stuff. So yeah, looks pretty clean. So there's one cable tacked all the way up, as you guys can see. 12 inches apart. Why 12, you may ask? Well, that's the length of the ruler. So every single clip is 12 inches, including the ones on the curves. And in case you're wondering about the bend over here, the corner, this one is 6 by 6. And you got 12, 12, and I'm up to here. So now I've got to decide where I'm going next. But so far so good. It's looking pretty damn clean. We've come round the corner and across, as you can see, one there to hold it nice and steady on the corner there. Across here, and then straight down into the carpet, as you guys can see. I've run it under the carpet and it's sneaking out just there, which is awesome. I need to tidy up the carpet a little bit here. And then it's going out there with a little one of those there to stop it from moving around under the really badly finished laminate flooring. And there's a couple of tacks in the corner at the back there, and I do have excess, so I may chop it off and reattach the RJ11, but the cable is still working, which is great. Reason I can tell that is because I can see by the lights when I plug it in, I can see the router reconnecting to the socket. So, sorry about the camera work, guys, rubbish camera work. Hang on a second, plug it in, and then once you plugged it in, it reinitializes, it resets itself. So yeah, that's that. I'm going to keep some excess just in case I want to move the server rack around the office, but that's a little bit too much, because the reason I got such a long cable, I didn't know if I had to go above the door frames out there. I didn't know if under the carpet was going to work. But that's it for today. No internet, but a big network update. I almost forgot to show you guys my Airport Extreme in its place. Here it is on top of one of my speakers. I would like it a bit more central, so maybe one day what I'll do is get a longer Ethernet cable, and I could get another Powerline adapter actually. And I've been looking at this spot over here where the baby monitor is. There's a socket down there. So I could put a Powerline adapter there and put the Airport Extreme here, and that way it would be a bit more even in terms of coverage, because at the moment that's the outside, so it's very close to the outside wall. But for now it'll be fine. I'll get plenty of reception in the kitchen because it's only there, but the only room that may suffer a little bit is my office, which is all the way up in that direction of the house. But everywhere else should be fine, and our bedroom will be fine. It's directly above this room. So yeah, we've got that, and of course it's connected to Ethernet to the Powerline adapter, and then we have the 2 more Ethernet ports there which are available for the Apple TV and the Wii U. I have the Xbox directly connected to the second port on the Powerline adapter. You can just about see it back there. Got loads of cable tidying up to do, blah blah blah, but the cable tidying of this area and chatting about cable routing and stuff, that'll come in the actual entertainment setup part 2 video, because part 1 is live, but part 2 is where we're going to start introducing some sort of smart elements, if you like. But of course the lack of internet has kind of put a dampener on that as well, because I was going to introduce Apple TV and obviously the airport and everything, but yeah, we can still do a little bit with that. So yeah, that's the last little thing that I can do today, and that is me pretty much with everything done that I can do until I get my other equipment down here. So the network so far is looking good, and by the way, it's currently switched on just because it's on with everything else, because I might as well, and soon I'll be able to access my files and stuff once I get some of my other equipment up here, which should be in the next couple of days. So it's a couple of days later, and I'm just finishing off this vid for you guys to enjoy. And yeah, this is the outro clip. There have been a couple of developments. Nothing has changed in regards to the network itself. but a little bit has changed in my thought process. Now, in the previous couple of clips, I spoke about getting some of my other equipment down here to host, some files over the network and everything like that, and just to get things a bit more up and running and a bit more lively, even though I don't have an internet connection yet. But I thought of a fatal flaw with that plan. If I bring down my Mac Mini from its current location in my parents' house, that means I won't have an upload server located at my parents' house. Therefore, making content and uploading content would be 10 times harder. So bringing the Mac Mini down is out of the question because I'm trying to upload more videos. You guys will have noticed an increase in the amount of videos I'm uploading, and there's still more to come, still more for me to edit. So I can't bring the Mac Mini down, and because I can't bring the Mac Mini down, that makes it pointless to bring down my rack mount RAID or any of my hard drives. I may as well do it all at once. So that's why this is an outro clip. This is literally all I can do for now. Yes, I could bring down my power distribution and I could hook up the switch and everything like that, but there is no point. I charged up my batteries, but I turned it all off because my internet connection is estimated to come on the 14th of May, which is still a little while away, and also I just have no need to have this stuff hooked up and wasting electricity right now. So it's all exactly how I left it, but it's not powered up because there's just no need. So with that said, guys, I know this has been a long video considering the amount of things I've shown. This isn't exactly enough gear to sink a ship or anything like that. There's hardly any gear set up at the moment. So I know part one may have been a little bit slow, but rest assured, I basically promise that the rest of the parts are going to be awesome. It's going to be a very long-winded process, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, because I've got to wait for funds to come in to actually fund this stuff. I don't even have a rack yet. But part two will be setting up the equipment that I already have and integrating it with this system, but you won't see that until I have an internet connection. So there's going to be a little delay before part two, but when it comes, I think it'll be worth it. Then part three will be a little bit further down the line again, where I get some more money together and I can buy a rack and all the rack accessories that I need and get everything racked up, and then finally build my NAS at some point. But I'm still not finalized on the components that I'm going to be using because I've got about 3 different NAS configurations that I could go with, and they vary in price by about £400. I'm not 100% sure, I'm not 100% finalized on my workflow yet, so I don't know how beefy I need my NAS to be. But all of that is to be determined, and that is the fun process that I'm going to obviously take you guys along with me for the ride. And yeah, all in all, this is pretty sweet. So that has been my networking setup, part one. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little video. Plenty more like this to come. And as always, I'll see you next time.